everyone, David Aragona and Mike Beer here taking a look at the DRF Friday race of the day, which is the future race at Saratoga. Race 9 on that Friday card is the Smart and Fancy, going the 5.5 furlong distance for the fillies and mares on the turf. And Mike, we've got 9 runners entered for the turf, but I think we're going to have a clear favorite among this group in the number 6 Future Is Now, who has just been the picture of consistency in these turf sprints against her own gender over the past year or so, and she loves to win races.
Yeah, she really does. She just keeps on going, too. A 5-year-old now, David. She got really good last year, and she's actually carried that over so far this year, winning 2 of her 3 starts, a stakes winner here over course and distance last time, and against a tougher field last time, too, David. I mean, she comes back in a race here. It doesn't even feel like the competition is as strong this time.
No, it feels like a lot of the horses that were major players in the Caress have not come back for this race. Actually, only one who finished behind her, Twirling Queen, is back in this spot, and it just makes Future Is Now a very likely winner, a formidable foe for a lot of these runners that she's facing off against. And Mike, we'll take a look at the Timeform US pace projector for this race because Future Is Now is shown leading this field early, and she certainly could be if Paco Lopez wants to lead and some others don't show aggression from the starting gate. But she's just so versatile, and Paco can really place her wherever he wants, depending on how much initiative others show in the opening quarter mile of this race. So just makes it really easy for her to work out a good trip.
Yeah, that is the good news for her, too. I feel like this pace scenario is a little bit hard to decipher. There are plenty of horses who have speed in here, but it's not like they all need to go to be effective. And, I would include the horse that Future Is Now just beat last time, Twirling Queen, in that mix. I mean, she's fast. They sent her to the lead in the Caress last time, and it didn't work out, but she doesn't need the lead to be effective. It feels like risk threshold is probably going to go here from an inside draw for Chad Brown. We'll see what some of the other horses do. There are horses with speed in this race.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because the 2 horses that are shown flanking her on this pace projector, Risk Threshold and Sunday Girl, both horses that have needed the lead in both of their turf starts. Sunday's Girl only tried the turf one time. So you'd imagine those horses need aggressive rides. Those in behind, they can show speed, but they've also been successful coming from just off the pace. Let's go through this field from the rail out, beginning with the number 1, A Gal in a Rush. And I'll mention as we start to handicap this race that you can get free PPs for this race of the day, with it being the Friday race of the day. Just to create that free account at DRF.com and head on over to the race of the day page if you want to handicap along with Mike and me. And Mike, speaking of the number 1, Gal in a Rush, she is one of 2 Miguel Clement trainees in this race. Now, she's a horse who can be a little bit pace dependent at times. She likes to make a run from pretty far back in the pack. And the late run that was so effective for her going back to the 2023 and 2024 seasons feels like it hasn't quite been there for her lately, especially since she's come off a layoff this year in Miguel's barn. She was just running on too late in the Royal North Quebec and just lacked any sort of kick on the synthetic last time up at Woodbine. Coming back down to the States here, but she's not landing in the easiest spot.
Yeah, she's not. I mean, maybe this race will set up really well for her because I do feel like there's a chance it gets competitive up front, David, but I just don't like her recent form enough to really want to trust her in here. Even at, what should be a pretty fair price here. You made her 12-1 on the line. She's got a race or 2 on the go back that would give her a chance in here, but I do not like her recent form.
Up next is another horse I picked at 12-1 on the morning line, the number 2, Risk Threshold. And Mike, she is a need the lead type. I mean, you go through her past performances. When she doesn't get to the front end, she just does not produce her best effort. And when she's able to get a clear lead, as she was in this most recent start that we'll take a look at, it's like she develops some heart and she wants to hold on in these races, as she did here when she dug in as her stablemate challenged her in the late stages. Now, she's stepping up to face a much tougher field than she did here. And Mike, when I go back through her performances, she is a horse who's been most effective when she sets paces that are comfortable for her. And if she sets a comfortable pace for her, I'm just worried that she's not going to be quick enough to make the front in here.
Yeah, exactly. I have the same concerns with her. I mean, she's looked good in a couple of races when she just got absolutely loose and they didn't make her go fast early. And it's also worth noting most of those races at 6 furlongs. This is at 5.5 against tough horses. And ultimately, David, they've tried her in stakes races before, in a couple of stakes races late last year where she made the early lead. And she just, to me, it wasn't about pace in those races. It was about class. She just wasn't good enough.
The number 3, Benedetta, Mike, has a similar look to the horse that was second in the Caress, Zeitlos, a horse for Steve Asmussen, who spent most of her career on the dirt, but always had turf pedigree and has tried it a couple times and run well in her turf starts. Now, Benedetta has spent her entire career on the dirt, and Steve Asmussen has never tried turf with her. But you do look at the pedigree, and there's plenty of grass influences in there, from City of Light on the top to the bottom side. She's a 1/2 to 4 turf winners, and her recent form has been a little bit up and down, Mike, but you do know she's got got a race in her that could make her competitive against this field.
I agree. I mean, at least she's a wild card here. I would just say that. I mean, she's not really my kind of horse making the surface switch, in a stakes race, all things considered, but she's good on dirt. And if she can transfer that form over, she could probably be a factor in here. And, ultimately I went through her pedigree. There is enough turf in there to make her a little bit interesting.
The number 4, L&J, is a horse coming back off a layoff in this race for her belated 4-year-old debut. And Mike, she did everything right on the turf during her 3-year-old season. She got on it, only won by a nose in her first turf start at Ellis Park, but she improved quite a bit after that, just decimating the field at Ellis, going the 5.5 furlong distance next time. And then in her most recent turf start that we'll take a look at from last October at Aqueduct, she beat a stakes field. Now you'll notice in this replay, she's only defeating 3 rivals this day, and it was not the strongest edition of the Glen Cove. The horse chasing her on the outside, Time the Dazzle, has proven to be a pretty good horse since then, though she probably didn't get the right trip on this occasion. L&J is going to have to improve, Mike, but she is a newly turned 4-year-old. She's had time to mature, so I'm not going to be surprised when she comes back off the layoff as a better horse.
I agree. I mean, she's, the one horse in here who I feel like, Future is now maybe has to worry about a little bit. If she comes back ready off the layoff here and can move forward, because she's talented. I mean, there are things about all 3 of her wins, David, where I feel like I could, as you've already pointed out, only 3 horses last time. It wasn't a super strong field. She still looked good to me winning that race. When she won at the back in August last year at Ellis Park, just got absolutely loose on the lead. I mean, I know those fractions look fast, but she was unchallenged in that race and then just sprinted home in there, but still really impressive visually. I think she's talented. We'll see how she comes back here. It's a pretty long layoff.
And I would not worry about fitness for her too much because she's got a long string of aggressive workouts coming back for this. So it looks like the screws have been turned for her return for trainer Brad Cox. The number 5, Twirling Queen, is the horse who finished behind Future is Now, coming back out of that Caress Stakes last time. And as Mike mentioned earlier, she was the pace setter that day, and she went pretty quickly up front and just got tired at the end. Future is Now was pressuring her every step of the way and ultimately was able to get the better of her in the final 1/8 of a mile. I did think that getting back to more aggressive tactics worked for her that day, Mike. Now, she has been successful rating in the past, and you'll notice that a different rider was on her back last time, and Luis Saez seems like he has not been quite as aggressive with her as some other jockeys have been. So I wonder if we're going to see her go to the front again here.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they decide to play it, because I agree with you. Like, it felt like her form had really tailed off. And then they got really aggressive with her last time, and it kind of worked. I mean, she ran okay in there. She had no excuse at all. She just wasn't good enough in that race, but she ran fine in there. And, she obviously likes Saratoga. She ran really well here last year when the Coronation Cup. She jumped back up to a good figure last time back over this course. I mean, she's far from impossible, David. I'm not a huge fan of hers, but she is not impossible in here.
Up next is that favorite, the number 6, Future is Now. And Mike, you start to go back and watch some of her replays, and we'll take a look at the most recent of those, the Caress. And she just gives you a lot of confidence when you watch her races because, as we said earlier, Paco Lopez can place her anywhere. It seems like she's always in position to be successful at the top of the stretch. And beyond that, it's not like races get handed to her. She really has to work for them, and she's got a lot of grit and gameness to her. She likes to get into a fight with horses and prevail. You could tell that from her overall career record. I mean, she just loves to win races, and she's become a specialist in these turf sprints. She's just so reliable, and she's facing a field that she just looks better than.
Yeah, that's how I looked at it too. I mean, she's just really good. She's hard, even going back. And I know that there maybe early on in her career, it seemed like, she wasn't quite stakes quality, but she got really good last year. And then just going through those races, there's nothing, you can't poke any holes in her. All of her races are good. As you mentioned, she likes a good fight there. We've already sort of talked about some of these other horses where they take advantage, they get these easy trips and they win. It's not the case with her, man. She gets right up close. She's facing good fields, first of all. She's winning fair and square. And this race just ultimately didn't come up that tough.
The other Miguel Clement trainee in this race is the number 7, Don't Look Back at All, who's also going to be a pretty big price in here. And Mike, I think the big question with her is just where has her form gone? Because she was competitive in races at this level going back to the 2024 season. She actually won the Grade 3 Caress last year in a bit of an upset. But since then, things have gone in the wrong direction. She came back off the layoff earlier this season in New York in the license fee, and looked like something went wrong that day with the way that she just faded in the stretch. I don't know if she bled or if there was a breathing issue, but then you will notice they shipped her up to Woodbine for the last race where she can use LASIK. So maybe that had something to do or is a clue as to what happened to back. But even then, she didn't really finish off her race, and just kind of wondering where that horse we saw last year is gone.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, she did. It felt like she was on her way when she won the Caress last year. I mean, she was in great form at that time. And then ever since then, I mean, the Kentucky Downs race, I guess I don't care about because those races are always tough to evaluate. And I guess finishing second there in that grade 2 is a fine performance. But after that, it's been kind of one disaster after another. She just hasn't shown up at all. The Lasix last time, I think it did maybe help her in there. They got her up close. They rode her a little differently, David. They got her up close. She took over in the stretch. Those 6 furlong races at Woodline, they're totally different than these 5.5. I mean, she made the lead in that race. She still had a quarter of a mile to go in there. It was way too far. She got tired. So I don't know, man. I know she's got a race in her that would make her tough in here. I can't trust her based on what she's been doing recently.
We mentioned the favorite loves to win races. The same is true for the number 8 Sunday Girl, who has visited the winner's circle in 7 of her 9 starts. Actually, her only 2 losses are when she encountered muddy tracks on the dirt. And she has been a dirt horse for most of her career, but they did try the turf last time in the John Hettinger at Aqueduct, and it seemed like she got over the turf just fine, Mike. We'll take a look at the replay of this race now. She did get away with a very soft opening quarter mile here, and I think that worked to the advantage of a horse that kind of looked like the lone speed on paper, and she's able to sprint away from this field in the late stages. Now, even though she handled the turf, I don't think she really improved much on this surface, and now she's just stepping up to face a much tougher field.
Exactly, and I just don't think. Listen, she was fine on the grass. She's just a good horse. I think it's fair. It's fair enough to say that now. She's run really well, basically in all of her starts. But that trip that she got in the Hettinger last time, that's not going to be available to her in here. There's speed to her inside, and these are better horses.
And then rounding out the field, entered for turf, is the number 9, Out Too Late. And she's just kind of tough to make a case for, Mike. She took a while to break her maiden. She was stuck at the allowance conditions for a little while, and she's worked her way through them. But she tried Stakes Company last time at Ellis Park and was no match for a field that didn't look even as tough as this one. So she seems like she's getting to some deep water here.
Yeah, I just don't really like any of her races. I suppose she can sit back here, hope that there's some pace developing in front of her. It gets contested, and she can be a long late to pick up a piece of this.
And we hope this race doesn't come off the turf, but there are a couple MTOs in here. We will mention there's some rain predicted on Thursday, but hopefully things look sunny for the weekend, and the forecast indicates that they do. So we should be okay for Friday. Let's go to picks for this Smart and Fancy, Mike. And I think we're both going to chalk it out here. I just looked and I couldn't really find a suitable alternative to Future Is Now, who won't be much price, but just seems like a reliable horse.
Yeah, I think this is another great spot for her, and I just couldn't find the horse I wanted to bet against her. We both have the same horse second, L&J, and I do feel like if she loses, it might be because L&J comes back ready off the layoff and takes a step forward here, getting up close to the pace. But she's 3-1 on the morning line, David. I'm not going to bet her at that price.
Exactly. I thought long and hard about reversing it, but I just didn't feel like I'd be getting great value on a horse coming off a layoff compared to Future Is Now, who's got the recency and, frankly, the better form. So 6-4-3-5 for me and 6-4-7-3 for Mike in the DRF Friday race of the day, the Smart and Fancy at Saratoga. Good luck if you're playing the races later this week.